All right, this is an example of how to use the distance formula. In this case, we are finding the shortest distance that we can commute between work and home based on the graph. So I'm looking for the shortest distance between the point work at 9, -3 and home -5, 8. Shortest distance would in fact be a straight line from one to the other. So that's what we're looking for. We cannot count that. It needs to be calculated. So we're going to use the distance formula to calculate that. So I'm going to use my graphic organizer that I've been provided. I do want to make sure I know ahead of time what's going to be my point 1, what's going to be my point 2, because they've asked for work to home. I'm going to just call work point 1 and home point 2. Although it doesn't matter, I could do it in either order. And I will be fine as long as I put my points in the right place. So point 1 is work, 9, -3. Point 2 is home, -5, 8. So we'll go in. Point 1 is work, 9, -3. Point 2 is home, -5, 8. Double check that. Coming over here. Yep. So we are ready to go. So now, biggest thing here, I just have to make sure I match up. So distance formula is the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. So all I have to make sure I do is x1 gets to the correct place, x2 gets to the correct place, y1 gets to the correct place, and y2 gets to the correct place. I do these things and follow my order of operations. I will be good. So let's go through and follow those order of operations. So x2 is my first point. x2 is -5. So I shall put that in to my equation. x1 is 9. y2 is 8. And y1 is -3. So now it's just a matter of using my arithmetic and order of operations. So the next step here would be doing what's inside the parentheses. So I will be doing -5 minus 9 and then 8 minus -3. Now remember, we do have in the end recourse to our calculators, but if you would like to make sure you understand the concept, if I am subtracting from a negative, I am becoming more negative, so my number stays negative, but I am in fact adding the 5 and the 9 as if they were positive. So 5 plus 9 is 14. So the answer to -5 minus 9 is -14. Now I have to make sure I have proper thinking over here because we did have a question in class the other day. Why did I end up adding in a situation like this? Well, we have to remember that if I am subtracting, I'm going more negative, but if I'm subtracting a negative, I am reversing a negative, so I am in fact adding. So when you see two negatives in a row, minus a negative, you are actually adding. So 8 minus -3 is actually 8 plus 3, which is 11. Now I get to my squaring part, or putting something to the second power. I want to make sure that I am thinking properly here. And so -14 squared, or to the second power, is actually -14 times -14. I should remember that a negative times a negative is a positive. I never want to end up on this level of my distance formula with a negative number, 1, 2, whatever. They should, because a negative times a negative is a positive. -14 squared is 196. I want to do the same thinking with 11 squared, even though 11 squared is positive. I want to think 11 times 11, which is 121. Now my next step, I am simply adding 196 plus 121, which will give me 317. And then at this point, I will bring up my calculator. And I want to take the square root. Be very careful here because square root is not dividing by 2. This is incorrect. I will get the wrong answer. 158 is not how long it is between my home and work. And simply taking a look at my actual graph should tell me that this is not 158 when I'm plotted between basic points -5, 8, and 9, -3. That is not going to be far enough. So I want to make sure that when I'm using my calculator, I am in fact performing a square root. So I'm going to clear this out and I'm going to go back to 317. Square root on the computer calculator is here, different from dividing by 2. That's going to give me 17.8 because I'm rounding to the nearest tenth, one place after the decimal. So now I'm going to go in with my answer, 17.8. Now to answer a word problem, I always want to make sure I answer with a sentence unless told otherwise. So my shortest distance, the shortest commute between work and home is 17.8 units. In this case, it would most likely be miles, but because I wasn't given any instruction as to what the units were, I just keep it as units. And then we can expand this out and see the entire process one more time from the beginning, just as a whole shot. So this is how we use the distance formula.